Hello, everyone. Welcome to another First Chapter Friday with me, Miss Gabby. Today we're going to be reading Dr. Fell and the Playground of Doom by David Neilson. Chapter 1 The Arrival of Dr. Fell. The large brick house at the end of Hardscrabble Street had been empty for generations. During that time, it had been a royal castle, a haunted ruin, an alien spaceship, and anything else the children of the neighborhood wanted it to be. Lindsay Brackenwig said the last people to live in the house had been a family of circus performers who had practiced their skills on an abnormally flat roof. Josh Gallowsby said that they had been three witches who had stirred magic potions in an enormous bathtub on the second floor. Hannah Festerworth said they had been the parents of a young boy who they kept locked away in the unfinished basement. Every child had a story about the house, each wilder than the last. It was a house of imagination, a blank canvas just waiting to be painted with the gleeful brushstrokes of youth. Every parent in the neighborhood had forbidden their children from entering the house, and every parent in the neighborhood knew full well that their children were disobeying them. But when the local real estate agent, Dorothy Cavenswater, placed a sold banner atop the aged, weather-beaten for sale sign that had stood sentry on the front lawn for years, even the parents were disappointed. "It's like the heart of the neighborhood is being ripped right out," said PTA co-president Candace Gloomfellow. "I still remember when little Johnny broke his arm falling down those rickety stairs," agreed PTA co-president Martha Doomsburg with a wistful tear in her eye. Every adult on Hardscrabble Street, as well as all those on nearby Vexington Avenue and Von Burden Lane, and nearly all on Turnabout Road, Old Lady Wetherington could not be bothered, wondered about the new owners. Would they be a tidy family? Would they be a handy family? Would they be a noisy family? The children of Hardscrabble Street, Vexington Avenue, Von Burden Lane, and Turnabout Road did not wonder about the new owners. As word spread of the sale, they gathered in twos and threes to stand in front of their magnificent former playhouse and sigh, pout, even weep. Some felt childhood was over. Others felt like they had lost their best friend. All felt mildly resentful of the sale and were determined to dislike whoever ultimately moved in, no matter what. "Why would anyone buy that house?" asked 10-year-old Gail Bloom, staring longingly at the second-floor balcony on which she'd fenced the imaginary yet dastardly Lord Dunderhead only a few days before. "Maybe they've got kids," answered her 8-year-old brother Jerry, with his rose-colored viewpoint, eyeing the flat roof where only last week he had set up his slot car track and raced the cars wildly in circles for hours on end. "This is a good neighborhood for kids." "But it's our place," complained Gail's best friend and Jerry's worst nightmare, 10-year-old Nancy Pink Blossom, imagining the infamous stairway of death down which she tumbled each and every one of her pretty pink dress-up dolls. "Who said they could just come and take it away from us?" The three children stood in place a moment more on that warm spring Saturday morning, each gathering and storing away an admiredly short lifetime's worth of memories. Finally, at some unspoken signal, they turned away almost in unison. "What should we do today?" asked Gail. "We could go to the river," answered Jerry, referring to the tiny trickle of a stream that snaked behind Hardscrabble Street. "There's lots to do near the river." "She wasn't asking you, snothead," said Nancy automatically, too upset to mutter up a real insult. "Want to go and see if Lindsay Brackenwig's home?" suggested Gail. "Sure," said Jerry. "She's fun." "Go find your own friends, dork nose," said Nancy. "I'm not a dork nose." "Yes, you are. You're a total dork nose." "No, you're a dork nose." "Oh, God, grow up, dork nose." "Guys, who's that?" interrupted Gail. Jerry and Nancy put their epic battle of the dork nose on hold to follow the line of Gail's fingers to a tall, fragile-looking man stumbling, shambling towards them, hunched over as if he had long ago lost the struggle against gravity. He was dressed all in black except for a large purple top hat, and he carried a small black leather bag by its polished white handle of bone. Even though he was still a ways away, the kids could make out a repeatedly creaking that sounded with each footstep, as if he were walking on a squeaky wooden floor rather than a concrete sidewalk. The children stared at the strange man as he approached, and he at them. But where the children gawked in open-mouthed wonder, the man merely smiled. "A supremely pleasant good morning to you, urchins," announced the man slowly in a high-pitched, weak, warbling voice. "Are you the residents of this fine enclave of humanity?" The children remained slack-jawed a moment more until the man chuckled good-naturedly. "Forgive my manner of speech, young ones. What I meant to say is, do you live here?" Gail and Nancy remained immobile, but Jerry managed to nod slightly. A wide grin forced its way across the thin, heavily wrinkled face. "Then I am delighted to make your acquaintance. My name is Dr. Fell. How do you do?" Dr. Fell extended a pale, bony hand towards the children. They watched it approach as if it were in slow motion, each knobbly knuckle looking like it was ready to crack into dust at the faint breeze. Finally, Gail, not wanting to be impolite, met the hand with her own and gave it a limp shake, careful not to exert too much pressure for fear of crushing the old man's fingers. "Hi," was all she said. "I've just purchased the very house you stand before," wheezed Dr. Fell. "I'm your new neighbor." The children looked the man up and down. Gail had released the hand, wondered why such an elderly individual would choose to move into this local and boisterous community so late in life. Jerry tried to imagine the decrepit figure climbing up and down the stairway of death each day without breaking a leg. Nancy, however, got right to the point. "That's our playhouse." Dr. Fell raised first one eyebrow and then the other before looking out over the heads of the children at his new home. "Was it? How dreadfully rude of me," he said, then smiled back down to Nancy. "I do apologize. I trust this will not forever damage our relationship." Nancy, who normally would stand toe-to-toe with anybody, felt the need to take a step back, bumping into Gail, who gently nudged her aside. "What she means, sir," said Gail. "Please," interrupted Dr. Fell. "I'm not a sir. Heaven knows I've not been knighted. I'm simply Dr. Fell." As he spoke his name, he bowed his already bowed body even more. There was a sudden flash of sunlight as something shiny slipped out of his pocket and clattered to the ground at his feet. "Oh!" cried Dr. Fell in alarm. "I got it," said Jerry, quickly stooping to pick it up. He moved to hand it to the old man, but stopped when he saw what it was. A gold pocket watch. "Thank you, young sir, for retrieving my little trinket," said Dr. Fell. "I'll take that now." Wordlessly, Jerry handed the watch back, and Dr. Fell carefully tucked it into his pocket. "Now then," he continued, "you were in the midst of explaining how my recent real estate purchase had upset the unwashed masses." "Well," continued Gail, "your house has sort of been the unofficial playground for the neighborhood as long as any of us can remember." An odd, mute understanding slowly dawned on the face of Dr. Fell. "Oh, my dear Bones, I imagine there are quite a number of disappointed young urchins hereabouts due to my arrival." He looked back at the house, his eyes seeming to focus inward for a moment. "I shall have to find a means of making amends." Despite his pleasant words, friendly smile, and easygoing nature, something about Dr. Fell gave all three of the children the briefest shivers on that warm spring Saturday morning. "Indeed," continued the good doctor, "that will be paramount." Jerry tugged his sister's arm. "Come on, let's go. Let's go to Lindsay's house," he said. "Yeah," said Nancy, happily going along with the lie. "She's waiting for us." "Running along, are you?" asked Dr. Fell. "Well, it has been an absolute pleasure to meet you. Do have yourselves a festive and fantastically fun day." He jerked his hand upward towards his purple top hat, struggling to lift his arm above his shoulders. Finally, his shaking fingers reached the hat brim, and gripping it tightly, he tilted both his hat and head slightly downward in farewell. I'm sure I'll be seeing each of you again soon enough. The children ran all the way to Lindsay Brackenwig's house. And that is the end of Chapter 1 of Dr. Fell and the Playground of Doom by David Nelson. You can stop by your local library and see if they have a copy so you can finish this exciting story. So until next Friday, stop by your local library and pick up some amazing books. Don't forget to comment. Tell me how you liked the book. And tell me if you'd like to hear any books being read and featured on First Chapter Fridays. See you all later. Bye.